Basically, what we're going to be working on today is going over how I prep for regionals and showing the exact steps and the web pages and everything that I use to learn how to play VGC. And I'm going to be having like set goals for all the things we're going to be working on today. So the first thing we're working on today is learning the new Mon's base stats and signature moves / playstyle. I've been away at San Antonio Regionals, so I haven't really had a chance to look at a bunch of this stuff. So we're going to be using websites like Pokemon DB, Pokemon Showdown, and other websites to learn those things. From there, I'm going to review what worked for me at San Antonio and kind of think like if I can take any of that tech and if there's anything that I actually learned that I did like at San Antonio, think about maybe adapting that to work for a Reg F format, just because it's easier to go with what you know works and what you're comfortable with as opposed to trying to learn something brand new, especially in a format that's coming up so fast in about 2 weeks. From there, I will go over my thoughts on what old tech works, like I just said. There are like simple things like Goldango Merkur that you saw me working with that I do still think are going to be very good. And last but not least, I'm going to review the EVs and stats for the team that I have shown on the left here with like the Goth Urshi and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically it. We're going to get right into it right now, and I just have a bunch of things. I prefer to use Pokemon DB over websites like Cerebi and over websites like Showdown. I was a fan of Maryland back in the day, and this is just what works for me. The first Pokemon we're going to be taking a look at are some of these photosynthesis mons. I'm going to be including Walking Wake and Iron Leaves in here just because I'm very not familiar with them as well. But let's just open up Walking Wake. One thing I really like about this, as opposed to a bunch of things, you can click all these links and it'll show you like all their abilities and things like that. So photosynthesis, this thing is basically like the water dragon equivalent of Suicune. It has amazing special attack, like 125. It's very, very strong. And it can still actually get a boost into speed. I think a lot of people are running these things speed. The only experience I have fighting against this thing is in singles, but I do think it's still very good. It gets that Hydro, I think Hydro Steam is its move. So its move right here, Hydro Steam deals damage, power is boosted by 50% in harsh sunlight instead of being reduced. So you can actually run this thing in sun and rain, which is very nice. I really do like this thing's typing, being water dragon as well. And yeah, I do think that this Pokemon has a lot of potential. I think that this is a really, really good example of one you can slot into a lot of those photosynthesis sun teams or rain teams instead of like a Flutter Mane. If you're a little bit like weak to like priority options, Flutter Mane might not be the big special attack for you, but you can definitely use something like this. That being said, I think it's really good. I think it has just enough speed to be usable. 109 is like actually really nice. So you can actually make it like a timid set and still outspeed things like Urshi and then throw the rest of your bulk into HP. So if we were to go take a look at this guy, if I were to probably use this thing, it would probably look something like basically like outspeeding Urshifu's, and Urshifu would be like a 97. Well, let's just outspeed a Chi-Yu, because like I think Chi-Yu is still going to be very good in this format as well. We'd still have to be timid nature, and I don't know if I would like to use this thing with something like a booster energy, but it's cool that that's an option. But we only really need to get to like right here to outspeed those base 100s. You might want to outspeed like Lando Eyes and stuff like that that are running around. So you don't actually need to throw like a ton of points into speed to make this guy work. You can then have the luxury of being like full special attack and just like split it up into like this and have just like a little bit of bulk. It's going to let you survive things like Grassy Glide, Sucker Punch from Shimpouse, and King Gambit and things like that. So I think it's actually a pretty cool mon. I do plan on using it a little bit later next week, but those are just my thoughts on it moving forward. Again, I have just a little bit of familiarity with it just because I played it a little bit in singles. Gouging Fire, I know people were talking about a little bit as well. Doesn't show the image yet, but this is the Entei. It gets a signature move. Let's check out the base stats here. 105 base HP off 121 defense is really, really nice. With a 93 base Spadef is actually really good. And 91 speed being the same as Lando. I think, like you were talking about, this is going to be like a usable mon. I just personally am not a big fan of the Dragon Fire typing in this format. I think like Reshiram is one of my favorite mons, but it just doesn't really do it for me in this format. Burning Bulwark is its signature move, I think. Uses Intensely Hot Fur, protects it from attacks, but also burns any attacker that makes direct contact. I don't know if you guys can correct me here, but I do think that this makes it so it doesn't like, if I were to spore this thing and it used this move, it would still get spored, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
cool.
only blocks attacks.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, that being said, I think it's a good mon, but it might be a little bit too slow. It's cool that it gets moves like Snarl. It's cool it gets like Psychic Fangs. I know me personally, the reason why I don't really think this Pokemon is going to be, what's it called? Gouging Flame, right? Yeah, Gouging Fire. The reason why I don't think this thing's going to be like everywhere is that honestly, I think it just loses to both Urshi forms. And I think Urshifu is by far and away the best Pokemon in this format. I think Urshifu is like by far and away Water Urshi, Dark Urshi. The fact that they go through crits and the fact that we have so many good fake out users, there's no reason not to use Urshifu right now. And I think the easiest to use good core in this, or the good, I guess like the easiest to use good team in this meta is Psyspam. And so like Dark Urshi just says no to that. We're big buff to Urshi Dark in this format. So that being said, I don't think it's going to like be day 2ing everything. I also don't see a real reason to use something like this over like a Heatran. I think this is like new toy syndrome and people are using this instead of Heatran, but they're just going to go back to Heatran when, you know, it's time to actually like go to the regional. That's just my opinion. It's cool to get Scalar Shot though. And then Raging Bolt. This is the one that, this is the Raikou. Again, it can be built with Booster. It gets a high special attack, decent enough speed 75, very, very high base HP with good solid defenses. I'm probably going to use this thing with a Vest, pair it next to Incineroar, very, very solid. It gets this move called, also really cool, it gets Rising Voltage, but it gets Thunderclap, which is a priority move that's 70 base power. I think this thing's actually, what is it, Raging Bolt, right? Raging Bolt. All right, so I really like this thing. It gets a lot of cool options, and I think this is probably going to be the best new Mon from what we can tell. 70 base power is really good at disincentivizing like other, you know, Urshi waters. It's great against Horn Urshi. It's obviously susceptible to like getting like baited out by Terras and stuff like that, but you can throw Specs on this and get photosynthesis boosts. You can put on a lot of different teams. This Pokemon's utility still hasn't been like fully figured out yet, but it definitely is an easy Pokemon to play that I think has like a relatively high skill ceiling depending on what other moves you want to flesh it out with. I was talking about maybe on like my set going for like an AV Dragon Tail. It gets cool things like Electro Web. You know, you can go for Taunt. I know it gets Calm Mind, Volt Switch. It gets a lot of really, really cool options. And I'm excited to actually play test with this Mon myself. I think Dragon and Electric are unique enough defensive typings to actually maybe have some, you know, cool interactions as well. So I'm excited to use this guy, but I'm not that into how it's going to work it out. I don't really know what Terra is best on him either. So we'll see how that works when I get into a little bit more testing. Going into the Quark-derived variants, we're going to check out Iron Leaves. Now I have this thing caught, but I don't really know that much about it. It looks like it's Frisian, but it's a 104, which I think is anytime you're over base 100, I think you're going to be in a pretty good spot. 130 base attack is really nice. I'm trying to see what's this guy's. Oh, it gets Ally Switch. That's really cool. What is the move this guy gets? Let's see. Is it Psyblade? Here we go. Deals damage and power boost by 50% on electric terrain. So, I wonder if there was a way to actually utilize Quark Drive with like Iron Leaves. I don't think you'd want to use Pincurchin. Probably the best setter would be something like a Tornadus. Sorry, a Thundurus. But that would be very, very dicey, which means I don't think this thing's going to be that great. Let's just take a look at it right here. Again, I do think that like having that base 104 speed means if we want to do the same thing we did with Walking Way, getting it to like a 169, you could throw just like the rest of it in bulk. So right there. You might even just want to go full speed, but I don't think it's going to be popular enough to do that. And then, again, you can just use something like that. You might even want to take and just throw a 12 in the defense stat instead of HP. But I think this Pokemon has some viability. Does it get Expanding Force? I'm just curious. Not that you would want to use it, no. Because I did see that it got Imprison. It'd be nice to be able to Imprison Expanding Force. But I also think, like, on a off topic, I do think that Imprison Trick Room is going to be very, very good, even in open team sheets in this meta. Because the teams, as they are right now, aren't going to be super polished, so the tools people have to take out those Imprison Trick Room users on the Trick Room teams themselves aren't going to be as polished. That's one of the reasons why you saw near the end of Reg E, a lot of the Trick Room teams actually carried Urshi Dark because they could KO the things that were Imprisoned Trick Room, like a Fargiraffe, or like other common Imprisoned Trick Room users. So you can still actually correctly set Trick Room. That's one of the reasons why Urshi Dark was really, really big on that team in general. And so I think that people are going to be changing those teams up, trying to fill them with new toys, not using as much of the old standard techs, and I think that Imprisoned Trick Room users are going to be very good in this format, at least for the first like 2 or 3 weeks. So let's pull up Iron Boulder. This is the Terrakion form. 124 base speed. I love that. You wouldn't really ever have to go faster than 120, but you might be able to get away with like Adamant on this thing. This thing's actually cool looking in terms of stat-wise. Has a great base Spadef too. Pair this next with an Intimidate user. You can even throw a Vest on here. I like this a lot. Hopefully its movesets don't suck. We have Sacred Sword. That works. Mighty Cleave. This is its move. All right. Move hits even if the target protects. This is nuts. This is Urshi too. You can use this and Urshi. This is like an amazing move. Wait, why aren't people talking about this Pokemon? Is there like a reason why?
Not that I know of. I think it'd be great on a sand team as well.
Holy moly.
That's that.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. Why aren't people talking about this thing? This is the full package right here. If you're looking for like a bulky AV user or like a band user, what are you saying?
I think what people mostly are saying about this is like it's so bad it didn't get Rock Slide.
Oh, it doesn't get Rock Slide? Oh, okay, so that's probably a reason. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, 100% actually Rock move too. Yeah, that is a great move. I don't know if it gets close combat either. It does still get close combat. See what gets physical. So this with like, see, I'm looking at it. What are our types here? Rock Psychic. All right, so physical. If I can type. That's actually a really, really cool mon. This is a front runner for something that I like a lot. You could throw so many different cool things on there. You could throw like a choice band on there. You could throw the wild charger on there. You could throw even like a quick attack, like a psycho cut or something. And like, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be a cool mon to use Stellar with. I think there might be something there. Maybe even just make this like into a Terra Blast or something. I don't know how that works. I don't have to start with the Terra Blast. That's probably not right. But yeah, I think that there's definitely something here with this mon. This is the right speed stat to have. This punishes hard anything that was like in the 135 tiers, like Fluttermane and Shempao, actually forcing them to actually still go timid or jolly, right? This just keeps them hard honest. It's been a long time coming that we've needed a Pokemon with this base speed tier. So I think this Pokemon's gonna be very good. I think people, if they're not ranking this in like S tier, they've never heard of a guy called Urshifu that goes through Protect. I don't know what to tell them, but like Urshifu going through Protect is nice. It's great. The fact that it crits is great. But like you could literally just be like, okay, well if I don't want to care about like Incin, we could just go like Clear Amulet, Mighty Cleave, everything, and like a Psyterrain or something. Like maybe you pair it with like a Fardraff or something like a Serena that says like no fake outs. Like this thing kind of just wins the game and Incineroar doesn't get to play. So this could actually be very viable, I think. Yeah, just be on the lookout for that one. Let's see what else we got. Iron Crown. Now, I've used this one before. This guy is the Psy Spam user, and I think it's a lot of really, really cool moves. I think 122 is a good base special attack. Good defense, solid HP, great speed def, good enough speed. A lot of people, I think, run this guy with booster energy, but I like to run it with Scarf, just because I like to use like a Volt Switch set and repin. I think it's really, really good partner for Urshi Dark, because you can pivot it in on that fairy weakness or the, even that fighting weakness. It's neutral damage. Tachyon Cutter lets it hit twice by practicing accuracy checks, so it's great against like Shenpao and things like that. I'm sure eventually Shenpaos will EV train to maybe live this, but yeah, I think this guy's really, really good. Has a lot of cool options, and let's pull it in right here. Iron Crown. I think this mon's very, very good. You know, the game definitely needs like fast Psy Spam options. It gets a big expanding force, gets the Tachyon Cutter from there. Like I said, I went with the Volt Switch, and I was using Terra Blast on this thing with like Ground Terra to potentially check things like Goldango and Incineroar. And I think this does work for me. There's probably a better optimal way to do it, but I think you could also just put you could just put a fighting attack here. Like I think it does get like Focus Blast and other weird stuff like that. But it's not as good against Dango. That's one of the reasons why I decided to do this. The Ground Terra also did help against like other people that might have been trying to use like Raging Bolt. And so I think that it's weird how its coverage works there, but I do think that it definitely could work in, you know, a wide variety of situations. Give me just one sec. So yeah, those are some of the new mons. Those are all the photosynthesis mons. We also have to check out Archaludon. I think this thing, it still keeps, sorry, it doesn't get Stalwart, right?
I think its hidden ability is Stalwart.
Okay, cool. It's good that I think on Showdown it says it gets it.
Because I think mine in game has Stalwart. So.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So on Showdown, and you were planning to go. What's your next regional?
I do believe Knoxville is my next one.
Cool. So we'll both be at Knoxville. We're ready for that one. That's in February, right? Like early February.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be Reg F.
Should be. I do
Cool.
believe. I think we're doing 4 months of Reg F, if I'm
I
not
think
mistaken.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Reg F should be 4 months.
Cool. So yeah, I think this guy has a lot of different cool tech. It has a pretty high base stat of like 600, but in reality, it's just because this attack stat's like way too high. Not that you're ever really going to need anything off it, but like, you know, it's just is what it is. That being said, good defense, good special attack, good enough speed in a lot of situations. But F is pretty subpar, but you can vest it. A lot of people are playing this thing with like stamina. I actually think there is value though if you wanted to be like that guy in sturdy. I don't know why people don't use sturdy, but like if we get to a meta where Urshi Dark is very, very viable, a lot more than Urshi Water, you could just see sets where people are just like, okay, you know, come at me like sturdy, you know, and that's it. Like that's the set, you know. It does get some really cool moves. Like let's see, what's the move it gets? Electro Shot. So this thing is like a charge move. People are using this with Power Gem to be able to just immediately fire it off. It's basically just like an electric meteor beam, but it also fires off one turn if it's in rain. So they're playing some rain teams. It's a good mon. I don't think this is a bad mon at all. I definitely think it's definitely viable, but it's so funny how everyone's like, you compare it next to like all these beat up users and get stamina procs every single time and make like really cool body press set. Like I said, there is a team I'm going to be testing that uses this mon in a couple days. But it's really funny that like the second that I got into my team mode, I'm like, yo, we could just go full speed sturdy. Because like basically this gives us 2 of it. We don't ever have to worry about like anything else. And maybe if we even had something else like a grassy terrain that could help us like cap off our sturdy if we took some chip, that'd be really, really nice. So I think like having this mon stick around for a couple turns, you know, we could give it like flash cannon, we can give it like Draco Meteor, protect, maybe like a support tech move. I think there's definitely like something there. It's cool that it gets like the Thunderbolts and other like leftover pieces of the Duraludon core. But if I'm going to play this thing, the first time I play it, I probably will try Sturdy. It's just like a really, really solid ability. And if you make it like a full sweeper set, it should be able to get like massive value and be a great tool for closing out games, at least in my opinion. Last one that I wanted to check out here was Hydrapple. This thing is the last mon of the champion of the DLC. Gets like super sweet syrup, which is the same ability as the like apple form thing has. It lowers their evasiveness. And then it also gets regenerator, which is cool, but it has like a really cool move. Fickle Beam, which I don't know how I feel about this move. It has a % chance to double the mon's like base power, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Fickle Beam, right, is right here. So let's check it out. So a 30% chance to just be doubled. I heard people talking in my YouTube comments about using this thing in like a pledge team to get the double % chance. I thought that was kind of funny. That being said, I don't really know how I would want to play this thing. It's technically slow enough to work in TR, and I played against one that was specs. It has a great base HP, good base defenses. I actually don't see a reason to run something like this, honestly, over, what was the unevolved form? It was Applin or something, right? It's Diplin. Yeah, like, I actually think that, like, Diplin with, like, Eviolite is probably a better mon. Has 26 base HP, same base defenses, yeah, like, I would much rather run this thing on just, like, an Infest set. Did this thing get Yawn, too? No, it didn't. The Evolve form, Hydrapple gets Yawn, which is kind of nice, or it says Moose Map already, yeah. But at least they both get Infestation. But yeah, like, Infestation, like, Recover, you know, this is just a good set, and I feel like this mon is good, but I just don't feel like the meta is really ready yet. I'm trying to think is there like value in maybe pairing it with like a Dragon Shear user? It's kind of hard to say. I'm gonna have to mess with this guy just a little bit in my own games, but you know, I didn't really like Diplin either. But I do think that this is like a better set than this thing. What do you guys think of this Hydrapple?
I think it's a little too slow for me. I mean, I don't play Trick Room too much, but
yeah,
and I don't like the banking on
the high crit,
or
not even crit. It's way too much RNG. Double. I don't see a reason why you'd ever want to run this over an Amoonguss at like a competitive level.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's fair. So correct me if I'm wrong. Those are all of the new mons, right? I think that's it. There's the 6 Paradoxes and then the Archaludon and Hydrapple. Those are all the new mons. Obviously, we have a bunch of returning mons like Incineroar and other things like that, but that's all the new mons, right?
I believe so.
Okay. I think that's it for all the new mons. So now that we've I learned some things. I learned that this thing had a much higher defense than I thought. And it's actually funny because what we're going to be doing now is review what worked well for me in San Antonio. The team that I took to San Antonio used Wheezing Moon, which got gutted hours before I flew out. But the team basically was a team where I would lead Gothitelle Urshifu into almost every single matchup. I would fake out something that I needed to fake out, and I would have Urshifu. If it was like something like a Flutter, I would go Dark Terra and Sucker Punch KO their Flutter. Or if it was something like a Landorus, I would go Dark Terra to not die to the Terra Blast and just one-shot their Landorus. When I was playtesting with this team, I actually played 5 or 6 of those Gouging Fires, and I one-shotted every single one of them with this big Wicked Blow off the Choice Band. And so for the team that I'm going to be taking a look at that utilizes this combo still, it's crazy that we're just one-shotting Mons that have like that 120 base defense with a high base HP. It's ridiculous. It shows how good Urshi is, I think. But that being said, I do think this team did a lot of things right. And honestly, no joke, if I wanted to actually take this team as it is to Portland, I think I could still get points. I'm that confident with this team in a best of 3 open team sheet setting to where I think I could still definitely get points. Probably going 5-4. I don't know if I can get the 6-3 or 7-2, but I don't see a situation in which I lose more than 4 games, even with this team as it is. I just put that much work into flowcharting how it works. I think Wheezing is very good, and Wheezing is still on the table for me, bringing it to Portland, just because being able to disrupt abilities with everyone stuck in new toy syndrome, the ability for Wheezing to disrupt those abilities, I think it's something that you can't take away how much value that brings to the table, changing the game's mechanics, which is why I'm actually still really attached to Gothitelle. Forcing our opponent not being able to switch basically turns every single game into easy mode and just flowchart finder extraordinaire. I think it's really, really good for being able to pair with an Urshifu or a Flutter Mane, or even a Roaring Moon if you want to set that Tailwind to then bring out your Urshifu and your Flutter Mane. There's so many things situations you can just break your opponent, and if they don't have the perfectly flowcharted, polished teams that came at the very end of Reg E, I think that people would still have trouble with this. I think in our testing, maybe tomorrow or the next day, if we do another one of these on Patreon, I might actually play this team a few games on the Reg F ladder and see how it works, because I do still feel very confident. I think we're going to see a lot less Amoonguss. We're going to see a lot less Heatran. We're going to see more Dozos, I think, oddly enough. And all 3 of those things are things that this team is very good into. So again, that's just a review that worked well for me in San Antonio. And now I'm going to go over my thoughts on what old tech works. Again, I just got done talking about Gothitelle and Wheezing. That's a little bit older tech. I do think Amoonguss is still going to be very good. I think a lot of people are going to be bringing Dozo. I think what people are going to be doing is bringing a couple new Mons, an Urshifu, some speed control, and Dozo. Because they're going to try and win that one game with their new tech, and then they're going to punish people for respecting the new tech with a Dozo game 2. So that's one of the reasons why, if we were taking a look at the team that I used on stream today that featured this right here, that's why I'm still using Mirko Goldango. I think, again, it's that old tech that does still work. If you want to lead something and try something new and you don't respect Tailwind Make It Rain into Haze Make It Rain, you just lose. I don't care if you're using whatever new Mons, it doesn't really matter. That being said, I think Mirko's very good in this format, being a dark type, being able to be immune to those Whims taunts and stuff like that. Also can do good damage against the Whims with Drill Peck to be able to... Basically, we can trade really well with Whims. Whims can hit us with a Moonblast, we Drill Peck at a Clock Sash, we trade Sashes, and then we Sucker Punch it on the next turn. So Mirko actually ends up out-trading Whims and being immune to a lot of the things Whims wants to do. So I do like that, but yeah, basically, I think that... There's just so many cool things that you can do with older Mons, and I think Mirko's going to be really good at checking those Dozos, which I was talking about as well. So I want to review a little bit of the EVs on this team. For those of you guys that have seen this team, I can give you guys the code as well. I think it actually is on Patreon right now if you want to use this team's rental code for yourself. But basically, this is the Gothitelle set that I'm working on. I think that you actually need a little bit of speed on Gothitelle. It already has a base 65, so it already outspeeds Incineroar by a base speed of 5. And then having 52 more speed, I would love to be able, in almost every single situation with this team, be able to see their Incineroar, because this team excels at baiting Incineroar, and fake out their Incineroar before they can fake out my teammate. And then from there, I can fire off a Wicked Blow or Close Combat. I can fire off a move with Iron Crown like a Volt Switch. I can use Trick Room with Indity, Tailwind with Mirko, or Make It Rain, or do whatever I want with Goldango without fear of Incineroar actually disrupting what I'm trying to do. And then next turn I can send that same Pokemon into the Incineroar slot if I need to. So I think the speed on Goth is very, very good on this team. Very, very bulky set. The only thing I might want to change is going into a 244 HP, so I can have that even number here, so I can better use my Citrus. But when I was running all of my calcs, I just did it with 252 HP, and I ended up calcing for a couple hours with this set. and I was just very comfortable with it. I didn't want to change anything. So it works. I know this attack stat, this special attack stat here works very, very well at bullying things. It's just a little bit more special attack than I actually brought to San Antonio, and this thing hits so hard with Expanding Force. But I really like to do in game one when I'm playing with this team is lead like Goth Urshi, go fake out, kill something with the Urshi. Next turn they send out their Mon that checks my Urshifu slot, whether that be a Flutter or whatever. I pivot out the Urshifu for one of my couple steel types, or I can go into Indity, set the terrain, and just pop things with Expanding Force. So if they lead like Water Urshi, what I can do is I can like fake out their Water Urshi and just ignore it for a turn, kill their Urshi's teammate like it's a Torn, and they can do whatever, and then I swap in my Indity, soak all that damage because they know they're going to be trying to get my Urshi off the board. Since their Torn's gone, their Urshi has to go into my Urshi, and then I just Expanding Force Oko them. They usually also close combat in that situation too, from what I've noticed. So anyways, they're going to get that stat drop, take a Rocky Helmet, tick, break, sash, and the Expanding Force Okos. So that's a little bit of how this team flowcharts into like, something solid like Torn Urshi. But I do like the Expanding Force buff on Goth. It gives my team a third Psy Spam option where people kind of look at this team and they're like, okay, you have Fake Out with a bunch of aggressive Mons, that's fine. But in reality, I have like Goth Urshi as a lead, I have Mirko Goldango as a lead, I have Iron Crown Indity as a lead, I have even Indity Gothitelle as a lead that there's not that much they can do about, and I really do like it a lot. I also have Urshi and Indity as a lead that I like to go with against Trick Room teams. One thing I really like about this is if I imprison with my Indity, not only am I imprisoning Trick Room and Follow Me, two things that you definitely would like to imprison if you're using Urshifu Dark, but I'm also imprisoning their Dazzling Gleam. So if we're going up against something like a Hatterene, they're probably going to have like Protect, Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Expanding Force, and they can't use Expanding Force on this. They can't Dazzling Gleam it. Maybe they have like a Mystical Fire or something. But in reality, like, we kind of just walled them super hard. My first 4 or 5 games playing with this team, I fought hard TR, and there wasn't anything they could do. The imprison of the Follow Me and the Dazzling really just cut them up and made it so I didn't even need to imprison the Trick Room. They kept trying to like degloom because they thought I was going to do normal stuff, but it just worked out. I think this Indity set's going to be very nice. I'm using a speed reduced 0 speed Indity. I guess I could have also optimized this a little bit more and went like that. So, again, I built this at the airport. But yeah, 0 speed reduced to be able to always lead confidently into Rillaboom, who shares the same base speed tier of 85, so I can actually always go and get my Psychic Surge up, or at the very least, like, potentially risk a speed tie if I needed to in some situations. I'm not really that afraid of Rillaboom, but sometimes you need to lead the Indity to be able to stop, those other types of terrains, and so it's one of the reasons why I like this set. I also like the Fairy Terra to be able to better deal with, like, other Urshi Darks. This Goldango set is just one I've been very comfortable with. I've used this at Portland Regionals last year. It's just a very fast Goldango. It has enough speed to work, outspeeds, greatly speed creeps genies and things like that if they were not really speed creeping genies, but like, people get to 121 a lot of the time to speed creep genies if they were to have like a -1 or +1. This speed creeps Mons that speed creep those by like 6 or 7 points. So I like this a lot. It's bulky enough to live through like suckers and other like standard moves and other priority moves and things like that, while mostly just being a special attack Mon, and just deals good damage with Naked Rain. Urshifu, I was just confident with an attack set here. Nothing really too spectacular. I probably could optimize this, but I don't think I really need to. I thought about going Jolly as well. I haven't really had a need to do it yet, but maybe I should, depending on if we start seeing that Raging Flame, the Entei Paradox get full speed sets. We might have to, but the fact this doesn't ever get to outspeed base 100 means I don't really ever want to go Jolly. The Iron Crown set is a bit of a weird one. Let's plug this one into the damage calculator. So we have Iron Crown. And honestly, I wanted full special attack, but I was looking at, I think I had like 160. Why is it 160? No, it's 220. Sorry, it gets 160. Yeah, we had 220. So 220 timid. And the reason why I wanted to get to this fast is so when I scarf it, we're heavily speed creeping things that are running around at like some weird stats. We also have like this plus like this, like way faster. This is gonna speed creep even like, so like this is gonna speed creep even like Regielekis and stuff like that, if they wanted to be like as fast as they could ever possibly be. That's not even right either. It's 252. There we go. There we go. So it's like way outspeeding even like, is it +1 Lekis? No, it's not. Yeah, it's outspeeding +1 Lekis too. So it's like way outspeeding everything. But basically, going back to this set here, I was looking at, actually, am I modest or am I timid? No, I'm timid. I'm trying to think of exactly what I was trying to outspeed here. What was it? 240 is really fast because like mostly you would want to outspeed Dragapult. And Dragapult would get to like a 213 at level 50. So that would be something like, this is Pult. If you wanted to change it to 136 plus 1, this is Bundle, and we don't catch Bundle, but like let's say we wanted to go like 135 and go right there. Like this is Shenpao. So I'm trying to think of what I was trying to catch here. I think it's Lando. So let's see if it's a Lando. I'm trying to think of like what exactly like it is in that like area. It's probably just Lando though. Like a 252 Jolly plus 1, 235, 240. Yep, it must be Lando. Or it might also be Urshifu. No, it's not Urshi. It's not Scarf Urshi, is it? Huh, what is it? What was I trying to catch? This is base 100s. I think it just must have been like Scarf Lando. You guys have any ideas what I was trying to catch? It looks like
Scarf Chomp or something.
See,
I know you're probably not gonna see that. Like,
ooh, I might have been trying to outspeed like 229. Now it's not there. Maybe like 244s. This is like, yeah, it's base there. Let me see. What's like base 95? 95. 241 doesn't outspeed that. I think it was speed creeping things that speed creep Lando specifically by like a lot. I don't remember exactly what I was trying to outspeed with this, but it was important, obviously. I think I wanted to speed creep Lando, and then, 236 would be things that speed creep Lando by 1. 237 would be things that speed creep Lando by 2, and I just wanted to blow that out of the water without needing to go full speed. I think that's what I was doing, but there also might have been, something weird, like, I'm looking at this, like, maybe, like, there might have been something that in Tailwind, oh my gosh, I hate this calculator sometimes. There we go. Like, +2, all right, so it's still faster. It's like 75. That's too fast. 70, no. I don't know what I was trying to outspeed. Maybe I don't need this much speed. So, I mean, it looks like all the speed that I really would need if I wanted to outspeed Lando, though, would be something like this. If I want to outspeed Scarf Lando, I could take, I can go to 204. And then I'd be able to, throw the rest of those points in bulk a little bit more. But that being said, I think I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and find out exactly what I was trying to calc here for. Because it seems just a little bit too fast. Just a little bit. But again, I played it all today and I didn't have any issues with it. Maybe I was trying to catch one of those new mons or something. But I don't think that... Yeah, I don't really think I was. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. Oh, was I trying to catch like... I know what it was, I think. I know what it was. Alright. I mean, it does catch it, but like... We outspeed like Adamant Urshis, and I don't think that like, even if they go to Jolly, a 244 still outspeeds. That's so weird. I wonder what I was trying to catch. Oh well, I think this is fine. That being said, I think the team definitely works as intended. I'm probably going to play just a couple games with it right now and see if I can explain a little bit about more my thought process. I'm going to keep the same EV spread that I have because I do like the way it works. But let's just go play a couple games with this and see. Let's do Reg F, best of 3. Sceptile team's coming soon. Zoroark team's coming soon. Right there. Alright. So let's just play a couple games. Remember, the whole point of these are just to learn a little bit about like how and why we're baiting certain things that we're baiting. So let's just go into this first one here. So we see Scope Lens Executor. I wonder if they're going to be pairing it with like Dragon... Where is it? Dragon Cheer? I think Dragon Cheer is really good. I'm surprised we're not seeing more people. Yeah, this guy's doing it. Dragon Terra. She should just use a Alolan Eggy. And then from there, like, get the boost and stuff like that. So we see no Trick Room on the Executor, just a Scope Lens set, Chlorophyll. There are faster mons. I think Executor is like a base 55 or something like that. It's kind of slow. Dragapult doesn't have Protect, so that's one thing when I look at open team sheets, I really like to see, like, do they have Protect? What do they have Protect? What can I bully? The Torkoal does have Protect. It's an Eject Pack set. So if we can stop him from overheating, that could be kind of nice. Might want to lead Urshi into that. Specs Flutter Mane with Ghost Terra type, which means I can always lead Entity into this and just absolutely pop it. Sorry, Entity Urshi into this and pop it. Life Orb Roaring Moon with Tailwind Knight / No Protect here. Either definitely pop this guy up. So against this guy, he doesn't have Fake Outs. A lot of his mons don't have Protect. We're going to be able to lead Urshi into this. But I didn't think, like, what's the other mon that I want to bring? I'm not afraid of this Pult at all. So I can actually just lead, like, Goth Urshi into this. I think that actually, I don't even know if I want to go Goth, because it's not that great into a lot of these. I might actually just want to go... No, I'll go Goth Urshi, it's fine. That way we can Fake Out one and still Sucker Punch this Flutter. And then from there, I think I'll bring Iron Crown and... What do I want? Iron Crown, it's good there. It's bad there. It's good against... No, I'll go Goldango Murkrow for game 1. So Goth Urshi, Goldango, and Murkrow for game 1. And lock it in. So we see Torkoal and Pult. So what we're going to be able to do is Fake Out this guy. And I don't know what I want to really do against the Dragapult right now. He could definitely Wisp me. So I could Fake Out the Torkoal and pivot in my Goldango to block the Wisp. And then from there, I could probably click like Make It Rain, kill the Pult. And I think Expanding Force plus... I could even just Power Gem that guy. I think I will do that. Because like I'm just not afraid of this guy at all. Let's just pivot in the Dango to block the Wisp. And we're just saving our Urshi to be able to hit that Flutter. There's the Wisp block. Good as gold. Pretty good ability last time I checked. So we can pop the Pult. We can also just take out the Torkoal. Like that they just didn't do any damage there. I can even just Shadow Ball over here. And I could probably go Shadow Ball and pivot out if I wanted to. I can even just taunt this guy. I'm actually going to double into the Torkoal. I want it gone. This is absolutely fine. We want the Torkoal just gone. Absolutely gone. And let's see. I'm happy that I doubled into it. We actually activate the eject pack right now, which means whatever they swap into is going to take this Expanding Force damage, which is another reason why I wanted to double up into it. Executor comes in and takes Slight Chip. And now in this exact situation, like, we're not afraid of this Executor at all, which is one of the reasons we wanted to go Goldango here. We're just not threatened by it enough. From here, you know, I think we can actually just leave the Pult up forever because it can't really do anything. We don't need to even taunt it. I don't think we need to pivot into anything. They're probably just going to Wisp or Dragon. They're going to Dragon Cheer this turn. So you might as well just go with, I think I'm going to Expanding Force this slot and just Shadow Ball because we can take it out whenever we feel like it. Dragon's absolutely fine. Dragon Cheer is completely okay. You can totally not even take us out. That's totally fine. And get KO'd there. KO'd on the Pult slot. We still haven't used our Terra yet. We could also switch in Entity and give ourselves the Expanding Force boost to be able to take that guy out next turn. Here's the Flutter that we were talking about, so we know we have an Urshi check for that. Oh, we didn't bring in Entity, my bad. Speed boost Flutter, so we know that for game 2. I think I'm just going to Terastallize and just get the KO right there. They do have Mystical Fire. Do I care? I don't think that I do. I'm just going to double into the Flutter just to make sure that we can take it out. And let's see if they make a reading over Mystical Fire. Good play. Yeah, great job. And we just come in with Urshi. So Sucker Punch is going to clean that guy up. Expanding Force will finish off the Pult. And then we just check the Torkoal. And we win. But hey, that was a good play. Going for the Mystical Fire. Again, we're letting our opponent have that one. But yeah, I think this is absolutely fine. They might want to pivot into Torkoal. But then they're just going to lose their Pult. Torkoal would obviously be there. But then we would just go for Sucker Punch on that slot. And the fact that we can actually just still hit Expanding Force right here means we don't really care. They used Curse last turn, but it doesn't really matter. There's a Torkoal. It's a good play. They're going to Wisp here. Doesn't really matter. Good play. We finish off the Pult. And we get to bring out Murkrow. We have 2 mounts with Sucker Punch. I think we throw at least 1 into the Flutter. I think that we actually still just kill Flutter here, even burned. Because we can always realistically, like, we're just going to Drill Peck right here. And Sucker Punch right here. Worst case scenario, they just clock our Sash with like a big Dazzling Gleam. They even have Dazzling, and then we can just Sucker Punch from there if we had to. Murkrow's pretty good. But let's see what they want to do. Torkoal has Protect if they wanted to use it. Cool. That's going to be right there. And right there. So it's going to be game 1. Going into game 2. So again, they don't really have like that many tools, but again, one thing that I'm thinking we might be forcing in this situation is a little bit more Roaring Moon and a little bit more Sableye. I think they realize like Pult is a very bad mon into our team, so they might be bringing a few more aggressive options. So this is where I think we're going to be forcing them into more of this Roaring Moon, so we want to do our best to actually punish that. So in this situation, I'm actually going to lead Goldango Murkrow, and I'm just going to pop the Roaring Moon in the face, because I'm assuming that's, even if they get a speed boost, I think we're still fine. Then from there, I'm going to bring Urshifu. And I'm thinking what I really need here. I think I could get away with Iron Crown. But let's see. Iron Crown's just kind of okay. I think I'm just going to bring Indeedee here, because they're probably going to be forcing more of the dark types. Just my opinion here. So Flutter and Torkoal, wow, big damage. Big damage. So they get the speed boost here. Speed boost Flutter. I wonder if that actually does outspeed my Dango. I don't think that it does, but we can find out. We're just going to go for the Tailwind here. I think I'm just going to click Make It Rain. I kind of want to just click Shadow Ball here. I kind of want to. But let's see. If I go for Make It Rain and don't waste Terra, we pin this slot. They don't really have that many things you can swap in here. Their Torkoal takes like half. They they overheat, so we get to keep our Murkrow Sash. I think this is fine. Yeah, Tailwind. And they do still outspeed. Hey, hard to say. I can run back to the calcs and see what they need to do. But it is what it is. I'm going to actually run that right now. So Flutter. Right here. Flutter main, set that to 50. Again, it's kind of hard to say when you fight Flutters, like, you know, like how much they actually get boosted. But Flutter main obviously gets to 307 and Goldango. What is our actual set on this Goldango? I think we had like 188. Plus 2, level 50. I mean, it sucks we died, but we didn't really waste our turn. Yeah, we weren't even catching that close at all. And that's fine. I think that's okay. So we get the pivot out. They bring in the Roaring Moon. And so right here, we can check that, and we're not really afraid of this guy. So we're just going to come in here. And they have Night Slash, Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw. They can Tailwind. I think I'm just going to get the Flutter off the board. 298, which means we actually still don't check that Flutter. So we're going to have to Sucker Punch this thing, which sucks. I don't really want to do that. They got a speed boost over there too. So we're going to Sucker Punch there. I think I'm just going to Sucker Punch, and I'm just going to Drill Peck here. I think I have to Terra, though. Good pivot. Really like that. So they went for the Tailwind. In this situation, though, I don't think I'm like that far behind. I'm going to pivot out my Urshi. And just go for another... We're just going to Drill Peck right there. I think it's fine. I think they're going to get us this time. I don't think there's anything I could actually do, because I can't really ever catch that Flutter. Let me think about what I need to do here. What if I went for, like, Sucker Punch and Sucker Punch to get the KO? Would that work? Hard to say. Yeah, the fact that, like, we don't outspeed Flutter here with this Urshi is giving me a little bit of problems. I might need to go into more of the Iron Crown for Game 3. That's a good switch. Wow. Wow. Yeah, double whiff, and then they Wisp. Yeah, we just take the L in this one. No reason to show our last Mon. And we go into Game 3. All right, and so now that we know what we're going to see, we saw Torkoal, Dragapult, Flutter main. We can know what we need to change for Game 3. And I'm trying to think. I don't know if I want to go Goth. I don't know if I want to go Murkrow. I think that I can actually lead like Murkrow Iron Crown in a lot of situations. And I can just pin the crap out of that Torkoal. I don't think that's terrible. This would be conditioning a Flutter to swap as well. I think Urshi is still very nice. I think Goldango is still usable. But let's see. I think I need to bring Urshifu. I don't think Indeedee was the right play. I think that like Goldango is still a good pivot. Especially if I'm very surprised they still brought Pult. Very surprised that they still brought Pult. So Murkrow Iron Crown, a little bit dicey, but I think that like we can actually check that Torkoal very well with the Ground Terra Earth Power. Should be able to check that guy up quite a bit. We can go for the big Tachyon Cutter into Flutter mains. That should be fine. And let's just start this one up. So we see Executor and Torkoal. So this is going to activate the Chlorophyll, which means we don't really have to care. They have like Draco Meteor, Leaf Storm, Sludge Bomb. That's actually terrible against like almost all of these guys. So we're just going to Tailwind, and I think I will try the Terra Blast into the Torkoal. I'm thinking if I even would like to Tailwind here right now, actually, because I kind of want to just double into the Torkoal and get it just off the board. I'm trying to think of a situation where that backfires. I don't think it actually does. I'm going to drill peck there. I want to actually make sure I get the KO. Let's go. So protect Executor. I would never go after it anyways. Yep, and so I think that we need this. Almost. They miss an overheat. I'll take those all the way to the bank. We take those all the way to the bank. Most definitely. And then from there I can just drill peck. I think I'm going to just pivot into Dango here and get ready to set up with Dango. And we might be forcing their Flutter Mane out here, but this would lock their Flutter Mane into Shadow Ball or Mystical Fire, and if we can get them to do that, Urshifu's not going to be as threatened. So we're lucky we didn't die, but, you know, it is what it is. It's still a lot of damage. So let's see if we can condition Pult out here. If we can just go for Tailwind. Executor has... it's not that fast. There's the Pult, that's what we were talking about. So now we finally set the Tailwind. Go for the big Make It Rain. It'd be nice to get a double KO, but I don't think that we are. Dragon, go nuts. Big damage. Specs damage. Oh my gosh, they actually ate both those. What gamers. Leaf Storm, we still live, and then they shouldn't be able to check both of these. So let's see. Yep, this is still the fastest thing, so we'll just go for a Haze, go for a Make It Rain, and we should be able to pin this one. Cool. Even if their last one is Flutter, I think we have enough tools to be able to deal with this. We can always click Sucker Punch from Murkrow into the Dragapult. I think we did a good play by not bringing Indeedee in this last one. Indeedee and Urshifu can kind of clash with Murkrow as well. But yeah, let's see. The right play here would be something like... I'm trying to think of exactly... I think I actually just do Drill Peck here because we want to make sure in case they do like a double protect and they miss, we still want to get the KO. And then from there, we just bring out Urshi and win the game. So we should be good. The right play here is, I think, double protect, though, and try and get it. Because at the very least, if I were to Sucker Punch, it would fail. So Dazzling is fine. It's going to clock our Sash here. And then we bring out... well, we can bring out basically anything. I'll just bring out the Iron Crown because it's the cool mon. And we will go with Drill Peck. Sun's also gone, and Tachyon Cutter to finish off. Cool. Does just enough. Awesome. So we'll take that win. It wasn't obviously the cleanest win, but I do think that it worked kind of how we wanted to. One thing that I really liked that we did well is looking at their team sheet, we saw like what mons have Protect, what mons didn't, what ways we could flowchart win conditions, and even though we played a sloppy game too, by bringing Indeedee over at the Goldango, we realized that Goldango kind of was the play here in pivoting and having like a good defensive switch for an over-aggressive lead option. So that being said, I think all things considered for what I wanted to do today, I think we basically got everything done. I learned a lot about all the new mons. I reviewed what worked for me at the last regional and how I can actually work it into my new playstyle for this event. I looked over what other old tech, we're using like Murkrow and Goldango to potentially check things like Dondoza, which I think is going to be see a lot of play. And last but not least, I reviewed EVs and kind of went over my ideas. I think that in doing that also as well, I realized that I was kind of wasting EVs in speed on this guy. I'm going to try and go back over and see what I wanted this exact set for. I wonder if maybe like I wanted it to be modest and have it be like that fast, but I don't really know what that would be outspeeding. That probably might outspeed like... it might outspeed like just regular like Adamant Landos, but it's kind of hard to say. I don't really know what the Timid's for, but I realized I was wasting speed on this guy. I think it could be better used on like bulk and like just a straight HP investment. So that being said, do you guys have any questions? Do you guys have any questions about things or things you want to see me focus on in like, tomorrow or the next day if we do this again?
Why did you force your team to fire weakness, being that Sun will be prevalent in the metagame?
Okay, that's a great question. So the reason why you're saying, why is my team weak to Sun? Why is my team weak to Sin and other things like that? I think I answered this on stream. But basically, I want those things to come if those are a good option. So you ever like go and you want to test against a specific team, and no matter how many games you play on Showdown, you never really get that test that you want? I want to maximize the amount of times my opponents bring those against me so I can understand as fast as possible how to beat them and what they're using to make their Sun teams work. Right, so if I make my team look as weak to that as possible when I'm testing like this and learning, I can bait out their best options so I can then learn what their best options are faster and learn what the average Sun player and average Sim player and stuff like that is doing so that I can, better learn how to flowchart them. So like I'm trying deliberately to get them to play their best so I can then correctly flowchart for the future. right? So the next team that I would make would have, obviously better options into those things because I now know what those things, those teams need to do to succeed. This is just how I learn, which I think is a little bit different. The whole point isn't to win these games. The whole point is to get a good, healthy understanding of what our opponents are doing. And so when we're playing like this with a team that can just auto win with like Goth Urshi or auto win with Goldango, we know that they don't have options for those, especially when we see them in the open team sheet. But when we take an L to something that's like functioning correctly, we get to see what the other pieces that they're bringing and like fusing into those teams are. That's just my opinion. That is how I learn, is like taking those L's and stuff like that. But that being said, I don't also think that I auto lose versus like Sun teams. I think we definitely have options. It depends on how their speed tiers are made. I think that we have like good fake out options. We have redirection options. Depends on if they want to go like AoE Sun or like single target, like just photosynthesis boost Sun. We have trick room options. I think it's a good game. We were talking a little bit on stream today about like limit testing and kind of putting your one hand tied behind your back and see if you can still find your way out of like those bad matchups. And I think this is the perfect team for doing that. We have the ability to be a bully and dictate play with aggressive speed tiers if we need it, but also we can play like a little bit of like redirection, trick room, and pivot around, have a little bit more AoE potential than most people might see on paper. And I do like that for this team. I think the thing that I'm going to work on next in tomorrow or the next day when I do this again is making a couple new teams using some new mons and messing maybe a little bit with the Stellar Terra type. Again, the whole point is not to win. It's just to get a little bit more familiar with like every single thing that opposing players are doing. When I go to regionals, I don't really plan on winning them. I just plan on placing high enough in the points to actually like get points from the event. That's what I'm trying to do to get to Worlds this year. I think I probably could try and really win if I really felt that I could, if I had a good team in this situation. But like 2 of my 3 L's were players that got top 4 and top 32 at the event. So it's like, at the end of the day, they still have to be really, really good players to even take games off of like my teams that are kind of made to beat at like a wide variety of players. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, more than enough.
Sorry. I'm just trying to, go through how I learn things. I think it's a little bit weird because I feel like I don't use a lot of the same resources as other people, but at the same time, I think this is something that works for me. I'm going to try messing with a Dozo team in a couple days. I do think actually like over preparing for Dozo for an event like this would be a very, very good thing to do. And these first regionals where you don't really know what people are bringing, the meta can go so many different ways. A lot of the good players actually aren't really showing anything right now. So there's no reason to like show your hand too early and say, this is the call, this is the play, this is what you need to use and shape a meta. What you really want to do is like kind of just figure out what you like. I was talking a little bit earlier on stream about the things we want to do in these sessions. And the first step is learning the meta. I'm probably going to be working on that for about 3 to 4 days, kind of finding like what other people are doing, what they like, what their tendencies are, how people are building each of these new mons and what the common items are on those Pokemon and common partners. And then from there, I'm going to find things that I actually like about the meta and build around those. Right now, if I had to pick something, it would be that Goth Urshi with a good steel type as a pivot. And then from there, what we really want to do is like rein it in and make the flowcharts, make the winning as easy as possible, right? I got a lot of questions on the team that I used for this tournament right here. The team they said for this team, they said, oh, Weezing Moon got gutted. Why didn't you just cut your Roaring Moon for like a Shempao? And I think Shempao as a Pokemon is very good, but I could sash it. It could be very good. It could be a secondary dive partner with Urshi, and it's just overall it's a very solid Pokemon. But at the end of the day, I think Shempao is a lot harder to play at like a very high level. There's a lot of little 50-50s that go in between like baiting the protects, pinning things correctly, sucker punch 50-50s. Shempao actually, it's a great mon, but it does have a high skill ceiling. So what we want to do in these situations is like boil it down to like getting the right speed tiers that we want, getting the right abilities and mechanics that we want, and finding the most simplest and effective way to win, because you aren't just playing 1 best of 3 or one game. You're playing like 10 each. You're playing the PC, the mid-season, the main event. That's like 8 to 10 rounds each day. Not even talking about if you make day 2. That's like 30 to 40 games of Pokemon, like matches of Pokemon. That's ridiculous. So you got to make it as simple and easy as possible. And so that usually takes about at least a week. So even after I find what I like, refining it and making it as easy to play and having all. That's where we go into the flowcharts and get those S tier, A tier, B tier flowcharts. That's where we're gonna do that. And the last part is like playing it with confidence and actually just like playing it into matchups and knowing full well that you can dictate play. Just trying your best to go through the motions and not really get caught off guard for like the last like 3 to 4 days for the event. That's probably what we'll be working on. So hopefully these things help. I think we're going to see a lot more polish as, you know, I do more sessions like this. But if you guys have any questions about things I could be working on, things you would like to see me work on, the whole calcing stage will come after the learning the meta stage. Because right now we just have to figure out like what the common item people are using on in are, what the common item people are using on, what the common photosynthesis boost for all these new paradox Pokemon, stuff like that are. So there's still a lot of work that has to get done. This is just the first day. But if you liked what you saw here, definitely plan on doing more of these in the future.
I think you kind of underestimate gouging fire.
That's fair. I'm not saying that I don't. I'm just saying that it's not that it's bad. Like, all right, so like with this Pokemon, right? It has a 115, which is good. It has 121, which is great. 105, which is great. Like 91, which is good. But like, why would I run something like this? Just honestly, over something like a Landorus, or over something like an Entei, or like an Incin. Like, I like what is the reason why you would run it over any of those Pokemon?
I think how I would run it at least would be like a Dragon Dance set.
Ooh, okay. Okay, and we're getting somewhere. That is something that those other ones can't do.
I sent the set I was seeing the most, or that I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in Discord.
Okay.
I think like the Dragon Dance set is really cool.
Okay, so Citrus, Dragon Dance, Raging Fury. Is Raging Fury the move that attacks 3 times? Okay. Does it get that new Incin like Tantrum move? What's that move called?
Temper Flare.
Yeah, Temper Flare. I would probably use that.
Yeah, like I didn't know what were the best moves, but I think the Dragon Dance set should be the best set for it.
And see, that's just why I like that we have like other people in the call for this sort of stuff. Like I asked an honest question of like, what is the reason to run something like this over these other mons? And this is something. I think something like this with honestly that. And you pair it next to a Tailwind setter like this. This right here would be valuable, in my opinion. Because this checks your Heatran. This checks everything that's not Heatran. This is a Protect. This is an Attack. You know, this is a Tailwind, Icy Wind combo. Like, this is good.
It also, like, I was doing some calls for some random EV spread. It can survive, and it will survive a lot of hits. It's surprisingly bulky.
Let me think about this guy. So there's... Oh, go for it.
If you have the sun up... without the sun, Urshi just has a 13% chance to 2-hit KO if you're holding a Citrus Berry.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, it's neutral. That makes sense. I think there's definitely something here. I mean, also... Like, you know, you could put even like Morning Sun on this guy too if you wanted to make like a different set like that. I think that I would like Morning Sun sets more than Dragon Dance sets. I feel like Dragon Dance sets, I would say if there was a time to use a Dragon Dance set, it would be Portland Regionals because the meta is going to be so fresh. But I really do feel that like Dragon Dance is just so... it's asking for so many more liberties in a meta where like you can get the Dragon Dance off. Like let's say you pair it next to like a Follow Me Mon or something like that. You can get the Dragon Dance off and you still just get like, you lose your teammate for it every time. I don't see a world where like I click Dragon Dance and I don't like either take way too much health where I get double tapped or I lose my teammate. And if I lose my teammate, yeah, I might be able to bring out something and repin. But if I'm playing against like the world's best, because again, I am playing for like a regional, I don't want to take that like mad L. If I really wanted that +1 attack boost, I would scarf it. That's just my thoughts. But that being said, I definitely think that like Dragon Dance is something worth looking into, and this Pokemon can be good. It's not that it's bad. I think it's still going to appear all over the place, but I don't see a reason why I would want to run it over a Heatran at the moment, which I already don't run Heatran that much in this meta. I feel like they're too similar, and I feel like Heatran just provides way more value because Heatran disincentivizes a lot of his other mons as well. I think Heatran's amazing into Incineroar personally.
Well, I think as the meta develops, they will see more play, but Electabuzz and I don't know the name of the one.
Magmar?
Magmar.
Yeah, you're talking about the follow me ones, right?
Yeah, they're great right now.
I think that they're usable for sure. Let's see. It just sucks he doesn't get like any sort of like lightning rod or something, right? That'd have been amazing, right? To be able to redirect Raging Bolt, that'd have been sick. But yeah, it's cool these guys got follow me back. They're not bad mons. Again, I struggle to find value in something like this when we already have NDD. I feel like Gouging Fire is new toy syndrome of like Heatran and other aggressive bulky mons, and like Electabuzz, it's cool that it gets follow me. Same thing with Magmar, but like what is the value in that over like an NDD? Like a straight up redirection mon that says no priority at all. Like what is Electabuzz bringing to the table then?
Like for me, the only reason I like Electabuzz right now is because Electroweb.
Electroweb's nice. Yeah. Speed control. So that's the thing is like both these are like asking for permission. You're saying like don't kill my teammate, and it's like let me like protect my teammate and hit you, and it's like that's asking a lot in a meta where like people they will realize sooner than later that they can just lead like their same stuff that worked in Reg E and just roll people over, right? I feel like that meta was so aggressive that you're at the very least going to be expending Terra resources to not lose a mon every single turn. But that being said, I definitely think that both of them can be viable. It's just going to be hard, I think also as well, we're seeing another surge of knockoff users come back into the game, and Sin getting knockoff gives these guys a really hard time as well. I think they're probably not that great into and Sin, honestly. But I think that Electabuzz is better than the Magmar, personally, right now. That being said, I can try messing around with Gouging Fire with Dragon Dance. There's probably something there. You would just have to play it so differently than like a standard variation on this mon. Anytime you want to use Dragon Dance, there's a reason it's been just a set that like doesn't really see that much play at like a high level. I think it's hard to be consistent with Dragon Dance. I think it's too specific. That's why you see a lot of the Roaring Moons use Tailwind over Dragon Dance. I think Dragon Dance has like a much higher skill ceiling, a much like greater risk of reward. But I feel like Tailwind on most mons that get it, they also get Dragon Dance, just says like you and your teammate are both really, really good for the next 3 turns, better than like trying to say I'm going to win the game with a Dragon Dance over the next like 4 to 5. And that's why you see more people use like Dragon Dance and like singles and stuff like that, because it's so much easier to get it off. But you were right, I probably am underestimating it. It's just that I probably am overestimating Urshi right now. The fact that this thing doesn't outspeed Urshi base is just, it's rough for me. It has to, yeah, it's just rough. But it has good typing. It does have good typing. I also think Entei is going to be very good. Regular Entei. I think I'd rather use regular Entei over it right now, but that's just my... I wish I got Sacred Fire. That would have been sick.
Also right now, like as you said, Urshi is the best man in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
Probably will be.
Yeah.
And I think like the fact that Suicune survives Raging Bolt.
Suicune's great. Now Suicune's S-Terra, like S-Tier. We don't like... I think Suicune's good.
And I think right now, like I was playing Terra Dragon, and I think it's a play.
Oh yeah, no, me too. That's a Terra that I would use on Suicune as well. I think Suicune's very nice. Very, very good. This Terra Dragon disincentivizes a lot of like Ogerpon play and Rilla play. And even in open team sheet, they have to basically pick, like, do I want to Moonblast this? Like, what else am I doing into it? Has that inner focus? Again, these are the things that, like, these other mons don't really have. Like, Suicune has deliberate things built into its kit that say you can't do X, Y, Z thing. It gets that Tailwind. It gets things like Snarl if you want to use it. It gets Icy Wind. Not Ice Beam. I mean, it gets that too, but, like, Icy Wind's good. And then it also has things like Scald. So like stuff like this, if you wanted to be this person, like Tailwind's good against everything. This is good against Psy Spam. This is good to spam after you get a Tailwind. And this is good versus Incin / like other mons like Lando that you would not really want to deal with. / like it's also good versus Urshi. So yeah, Suicune's great. I think that Pokemon's going to be very fun. Another Pokemon that's similar to Suicune that I've shown off a little bit that I do think we'll see play is Latias. This is really good into Psy Spam, really good into Sun. It gets everything that you could ever want. It gets Recover. You can go for, like, this is one of the few mons in the game that gets the ability to go for, like, Recover and Tailwind, to have that, like, Tailwind consistent setter that sits on the board. It gets access to, like, Breaking Swipe. It gets that new buff to its Mist Ball move. It gets Heal Pulse, I think. It does. So there's like a lot of value here in this mon as well. You can build it kind of like a Cresselia, you know, with, what's that? Lunar Blessing. It's kind of like a weird Tailwind Cresselia. That's what I like about it. And it has very, very good defensive typing.
Also, like for what I've been seeing, Lando Eye has picked up a lot.
Oh, yeah. Lando's everywhere. Lando, you're talking about the special attacker one, right?
Yeah, Incarnate.
Yeah. It was everywhere at San Antonio because it was a great part. It was a great core on Torn Urshi that could then go against other Torn Urshis that weren't Scarf, but then like the things that people use to disincentivize Torn Urshi, Lando could just come in and like absolutely melt them. So we saw like, I'd say 1 out of every 3 or 4 teams that you'd see at San Antonio had Lando Eye, and I think people are just like picking up on it. It's just a really, really good mon. I still think Lando Therian is better on a wide variety of teams. And I think actually Lando Therian did end up like placing more in the top cut than Lando Incarnate. But that being said, it's a good mon. I think Lando Eye is still pretty good. It's 101 base speed. It's really, really nice. So I think it's definitely usable. You just kind of have to play it on Rain, in my opinion. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it here. I just wanted to do this for about an hour. I'm going to try my best to do probably 3 or 4 little streams like this, working on building some new teams, working on some new tech, and generally just bringing you guys along for the ride for how I like to prepare for my teams. I appreciate the input on generally every single thing that I didn't know. I appreciate the second, thoughts on the Paradox Entei and the other Follow Me users. So I'll definitely be taking that into account. And yeah, just be on the lookout for the next one of these guys. So thank you so much.